10 years ago, we uploaded our first video on this channel, without knowing where this would lead us. Since then, Broken Window Theory has taken us to places we never believed could exist. More than 200 uploads later, we're looking back at a decade of exploration. In this video, we are sharing failures, close calls, and stories we've kept to ourselves for years, until now. And we are finally answering one of the questions we get asked the most about our riskiest exploration. Join us on this trip down memory lane and find out about the future of this channel. So make yourself comfortable. This is Broken Window Theory, 10 years later.
Test, test, test.
Test, test, test.
So before we start into this video, this is more of an interactive one. So we have a couple of questions and really want to hear your feedback. We always read every comment, so please share your thoughts in the comments so we can create something cool together.
Marco and me, we are sitting here today to have a look back on this whole year because it was quite intense. And today we thought we were gonna speak about everything that's happening because in fact it's our 10th year's anniversary, and for us it started as a hobby. You know, we never meant to make a living from it, and suddenly we are sitting here on our speaking to you on a channel with over 300,000 subscribers and still traveling the world, still traveling around. It's a crazy feeling, so we want to have a recap on all of this.
And this is like a great symbol for it. Just a few minutes before we started the recording, I discovered this in the office. So we are at my place right now, and this is something Till gave me as a birthday present, I think like 4 or 5 years ago.
Or maybe even longer, yeah.
Or maybe even longer, yeah. And this actually symbolizes our journey together and what we created together. Maybe you can explain your piece of art.
Piece of art is a big word. Well, I put together these 2 pieces of wood, and it's supposed to show something growing, you know. So like a project, our project. And the seed for this little tree sort of is this year. It's a little metal piece. And in fact, this has quite a unique story. It is a piece of copper that I cut out of like huge copper egg that was, well, decoration on top of the roof of our first building that we shot a video in. So this is sort of the seed for the whole project to grow.
There's something beautiful coming out of it.
Yeah, and in shapes that we don't really know where it's going.
And the really interesting thing is, this is the last remain of the fancy decoration, the copper decoration on the building, because you said you just visited the building recently.
Yeah, it's in our hometown.
And someone stole this huge egg from the roof of the building.
And I already felt bad when I cut it out back in the days.
Luckily you did, because it's just like a nice memory of our first exploration. We have prepared 3 chapters for this video. Let's start with the first one, where we talk about the videos that blew up versus the videos that need more attention, because we put so much love and effort into them and they got barely any views.
Yeah, well, maybe sometimes it's the expectations just from us that we think like, oh, this next video is going to be so good. And then YouTube does what it does. And it stagnates around 20,000 views or something, which is always very sad.
Our 2 most viewed videos, they are like, it's like a head-to-head race, because they basically have the same amount of views, and it's also basically the same topic, because both of them are explorations of Italian ghost towns.
I still remember when we've been to these ghost towns for the first time. Now we visited over 5 or 6, 7 maybe, in different forms, and some of them we did not even publish yet. So for us, this was very special. And then, of course, it's cool to see that it blows up and, people are having the same fascination for those places as we do.
I mean, just imagine, I think it's 3.8 million views per video. Where we grew up in the town, there are like 20,000 residents. But 3.8 million.
Man, it's more than the capital of our whole country.
Yeah, Berlin. I think Berlin has like the same amount of residents. That's crazy, actually.
Imagine you do a video and whole Berlin is watching.
And there are so many people who discovered the channel because of a band in Italy, and I think it's like the fan favorite series. We have 3 seasons published and we have like 2 more in the backlog. We are happy to announce that A Band in Italy returns in 2026. There's one comment I see all the time until this very day, and people ask for the return of the old intro, of the old intro song.
That's something we never talked about, actually, the intros and how we got inspired of some. I remember that I watched Fargo season 2 and I told you about the split screen they use. And then this one we used in the France episodes, right?
Exactly.
This was, man, such a good element. Then we had this Walking Dead shape theme. We never talked about this. We always saw ourselves as filmmakers that not want to put themselves into the frame or the topic of what we do. Like, we were the protagonists, of course, and sometimes, like later on, we started to reflect on what we feel and see and also film ourselves. But it all started by just showing the place. Then we added the history to make it more immersive and more interesting. And then at some point we added us, just as another element, but this was never planned. We sort of built this community without ever sharing a lot of us or like behind the scenes stuff or something. And this is something that we would like to get some feedback on from you, because we would like to build up this community to be more close and stuff, but we don't really find the format to do it, because we don't do live streams, we don't do sitting in front of a camera and, like...
We're doing it now, but it feels kind of weird.
Yeah, so we would like to get a little bit more close on this, so you can really be in the process, also deciding stuff.
Do you want live streams, for example? Would you watch it on what kind of platform? On YouTube, for example? We have a channel on Telegram where you can... There's like a chat, and you can chat with us and send us text, and we also read every message there. Maybe that's like a great platform beside the YouTube comments here to directly communicate with us.
We have so many questions to the community, actually, also regarding serious merch, for example, but we have no clue what you would be interested in.
People want t-shirts, for example, all the time, and in the past we had some merch, some shirts, but the quality wasn't really good, and we weren't really satisfied with the product, and we want to create something different. We have so many ideas, but also want to hear what kind of stuff you actually want to have from us, like cups, or I don't know.
Cups?
What kind of stuff are you using?
Man. Please don't say cups. So this channel exists for 10 years now, and we uploaded 225 episodes, which is a lot. So of course we put expectations in everything we upload, and a lot of time, maybe even most of the times, those expectations don't really get fulfilled. But I guess one of the biggest cases of this is pretty much our latest video, right?
It's the final episode of the Romania series, or Balkan Detour Seasons 2, where we go to this sunken village that got flooded by a toxic lake, basically. When we went there in 2022, we still had the chance to explore some of the buildings that are also swallowed by now. And this is far more than just urbex. It's about the people that live there, and it's about how companies destroy the lives of people. So it's a really important topic that goes far beyond exploring abandoned places. And so, of course, it hurts a little bit when it just got, well, when it's underperforming or it has less views than expected.
Well, in this case, also the work we put in was way more than just going a few hours into a place, because here we needed to really approach the people. We needed to talk to them in a foreign language that needed to be translated by somebody else. And then you got like 1.5 hours of material from the interview that you need to translate and put together and be precise about historical facts, because it's very important to not talk shit in a topic like that.
And you always only see the final product.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like a big team behind everything. I mean, if you watch something on Netflix, when you look at the credits, it doesn't even enter so many names. And here on this channel, it's only the two of us. And sometimes there are friends volunteering to help us. I mean, they're doing this in their free time. If you don't do videos yourself or aren't any filmmaker, you can't see all of the effort we put into the videos. So to show it to you, we did like a behind the scenes video in the past.
Yes.
We did it exclusively for our Patreon supporters like 5 years ago, actually. And I think maybe now, 5 years later, it's time to share this video with everyone. And I think you can get a really good idea of all of the effort we put into it. And to be honest, we really look like babies if you see the footage, because it was, I don't know, in 2020 when we shot it. But I think you get a pretty good idea. So,
Man, we're really gonna show this.
let's go have a look.
Ich habe jetzt hier meinen Text. Kamera ist aufgebaut. For an extensive collection of his urbex photography, pay him and visit. For an extensive collection of his urbex photography. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do a lot of traveling in 2020 because of the COVID-19 situation, of course. That's why. So here we have this jaguar made of wood.
It was a present, actually.
And an armadillo of clay.
Both of them are from indigenous people.
Little animal figures that we brought from Brazil.
It was a mind-blowing journey. It was like 11,000 kilometers we covered by car in 2.5 months.
And we have not been alone there. We have been with our friend Kati. She knows the language and she has all the contacts and stuff. And she has a very deep connection since she is working in human rights there for over 10 years now. We want to explore the possibilities we have as filmmakers, and we feel responsible for a few topics. Working together with her, our idea was to go to Brazil and cover a few of those topics. Mostly about animal and human rights, but also environmental problems and stuff.
Of course, we also wanted to explore some pretty nice abandoned places you can't find anywhere in Europe, because obviously it's so much different to explore something in a rainforest. There are dangers or hazards you don't really have in mind when you explore here in Europe. For example, there are more people living inside abandoned places, so you're basically entering their home.
So you basically have the difference between urban places, like in a country like Brazil, when you go in there, 3 people with camera equipment, it's kind of, and this is a very logical, like I guess I would do the same when I'm in this situation, to get robbed. And if you are in the rural countryside, then you have insane amounts of vegetation growing all over the place, and it's a habitat for animals from which a lot of them can be dangerous. I mean, we went along abandoned tracks, railroad tracks actually.
This was one of the most almost collapsing abandoned places we've ever explored. And I mean, it really felt like if you moved on the old wooden train bridge, it would collapse under your steps.
You remember that it was foggy as hell?
And slippery, I remember.
Exactly. And when I was crawling, I was not even walking, when I was crawling on all 4 over this bridge, you have, like, I look down and under me there's just forest, 60 meters, insane feeling.
Yeah, like good. A huge drop. And while exploring, we found the plate on the bottom of one of the bridge, and the plate says that someone died there like 2 years ago or so.
Yeah.
So it really is dangerous. It's like a 13-kilometer stretch that's still there, and we want to hike all the way, but we underestimated how stressful it is to walk all of the way, especially through the rainforest.
After 3 kilometers, we said, okay, we need to return.
We promised to return one day, but better prepared, and maybe in a different season when it's not that wet. So there are different kinds of dangers when you're exploring abandoned places, but in Brazil we encountered some new kind of hazard, and there was one moment where we really felt that, and we only got out of this situation because of our guide and fixer, Kati. We don't even know the language. We go to a country and can't even really communicate with the people, and so luckily in Brazil there was Kati with us who speaks Portuguese. Our goal was around Rio de Janeiro to explore the shipwrecks. There are like dozens of them. Well, it's pretty hard to get to them because most of them are in the water, and we don't only want to film them from land. The first challenge was to find someone with a boat who brings us there.
And we found somebody who agreed on doing all of this for us or with us. The problem was the next day we found this other hotspot of shipwrecks that we wanted to film, which was on a little bit other part of the bay. It's huge actually. And the same guy did not have time because it was Easter. And this is one of the most important days, maybe even the most important day for the fishermen of Brazil, because everybody's eating fish. And so they are doing the best business on this day. So of course, neither him nor any other fisherman had time for us to bring us out to those shipwrecks. But also it was our last day in Rio. So we needed to find a way to film those shipwrecks from land, from the shore. And it was sort of on our way out of Rio in the outer skirts of the city. So we saw that it had this favela structure.
Of course, it can be dangerous if you walk there with like your expensive camera gear. I mean, the three of us, we had camera gear worth 15,000 euro or so.
Yeah, rented stuff as well.
Yeah, of course, rented stuff. We really had to bring back home and can't be stolen. So we really had to be careful with our gear. And as a tourist, it can be dangerous.
We entered the dock just with one camera and we just took some pictures. But of course we raised a lot of attention and people looked at us, and it did not take that long, maybe 5 minutes or something, before a guy in his mid-40s approached us, and Marco and me, we didn't got anything from the conversation, but we got the vibe. And the vibe was more or less, the hell you're doing here? Like, man,
are you stupid?
Yeah. He told Kati pretty soon that there's going to be trafficking today, so drugs arriving, and if those people see us, we would be in deep problems. Then there was a guy putting a lot of questions to us, and it turns out he is sort of the head of the favela right now in this position because his uncle's in jail. And he was kind of young, like maybe in his early 20s or something.
Younger than us.
And then he got more in this mode of showing us around and being completely, like, having a lot of hospitality, being super friendly. And we ended up on his boat because he gave us a private tour to this shipwrecks. He was assuring our safety.
We were super lucky. He really liked us. He really loved Kati. He was such a good host. He even put some weed in Kati's pocket afterwards as like a present, or I don't know. I remember that he was even texting Kati a while after the exploration and the days after, the weeks after, and asked, hey, how are you guys doing? That's so great. Some German people here visiting us. So
he was offering us a house to live there. He said there's apartments or like houses in the favela empty at the moment. If you want to stay, you can stay.
Not only did we get so great footage, but also basically great friends.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And to break with the stereotype of that we get in our media of what favelas are like, oh, the places of drugs and guns and blah, 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 blah. Of course, it's part of this life reality, but also this is just a small percentage of the people living there. For the rest of them, it's just a place to live. They need to live in because they got no other options.
And it's so important to share these stories to break with the stereotypes. But it's so hard to do this on YouTube because YouTube wants to see urban exploration, and we love to show urban exploration, but we can't really show all of the stuff happening around it. I mean, YouTube is like a gamble. Right? You put something out there and you never know, is it exploding or is it barely getting any views or is it like on average? You really don't know.
And also over the last years, I have the feeling we lost a little bit of our focus. Like we were full 100% urban explorers in the start, and this went super well. And we had this regularity in uploads. It was because we had our normal life around. You were working, I was studying, and we did it sort of as a hobby. And then when we decided, okay, let's go full-time on this, we started to do bigger trips. For example, going to the Balkans with the Lada for 1 month or something like that. So of course, in this time, we were not able to produce. And this broke this regularity in the uploads and also the algorithm. And on top of that, we wanted to make this more meaningful by also dealing with topics that are just important in our opinion. For example, the story from Germana. Also showing the life of people in different cultures, make the world more of a place for all of us. And YouTube didn't like this. So all the time we are kind of struggling with, this is what we want to do, but this is not really what YouTube or algorithm or maybe even audience likes. And it's a shame because actually this urban exploring brought us to this point. You know, when you are constantly surrounded by decay, this does something to you as a person and the things you think about the world. There was this very important point that we had the possibility to write this book in cooperation with National Geographic. This was a super, super important part for us because we wanted to show pictures and adventures, of course, but also we wanted to do something more personal. And so we decided to include our personal learnings that we got taught by urban exploring, actually, into this book. And this book was sort of the start for everything that's happening now. Like we got invited to podcasts. With the podcasts, we got more famous in the scene of doing live presentations. And in fact, here it is. We went to one and won actually a prize. So now an alternative for our projects and also the stories that will not be able to be covered in YouTube is on stage in front of people. And so more and more we are getting away from being only YouTubers, but doing our projects in more facets. We have a lot of stories that we can tell for different reasons. First of all, sometimes things are happening that you simply don't have footage of, like very spontaneous interactions with people or bizarre things, or also moments that we live through and simply decide to not film it because it wouldn't be an addition to the project. And so with all of those stories, we would like to share, but we don't really have the format to do it. So an option would be, for example, to do a stream where people simply can put questions and we talk about this in the same format like here. We have, for example, a story. We wanted to visit a ghost town in Italy and went into accidentally a house party of millionaires next to it. We arrived at the abandoned place and half an hour later we were sitting with some Italian people in a whirlpool. But of course, this is not something that you're gonna get out your camera, or at least we don't. Speaking of crashing the vibe, you remember Hotel Igman?
Of course, in Sarajevo, there's this old Olympic village between these peaceful woods and hills. There's like this monument of concrete. It looks like outer space. And then you approach it even closer and see all the bullet holes, because this was basically the front line at the war. Behind the hill was Sarajevo, and people occupied the hotel and shot Sarajevo from there for, I think, 3 years. And yeah, I remember there was some funny encounter we did never share in a video.
We are on top of the roof and look around, do some drone shots, and suddenly there's this 2 black cars pulling up, bigger buses, and 12 men or something getting out with guns. And we're like, what the fuck? But then it makes sense because, of course, you know, they are playing paintball there. You can't find a better place for this. So we pretty much just waved them and they saw us on top of the building and waved back. Cool, but now it's time to go. And we went out, and in the stairways, we encountered them. We met them. And we realized that this is not people that play this just for fun or something. It's the Bosnia police, military police, that's about to start with their practice of close quarter combat. They did not care at all that we are civilians just, you know, being there. I mean, the police finding us in this place and not even saying something. This was a very bizarre feeling. And I remember that we went out, and shortly after that, it started with the banging and all of the noise inside the building.
Exploring in the Balkans, it's just something different. People don't care at all. I remember, and I'm pretty sure you remember as well, how we went back to Italy, and on the very first exploration there was a huge fail where we ended up in a Carabinieri police station.
Man, I remember that even before we went to the place, we saw that the Carabinieri is very close by the abandoned place.
Right next door, basically.
And we said like, oh, we gotta be quiet so they don't hear us. And then we approached the house through a big garden. And we bumped right into workers.
One of them just opened the big gate.
And we thought he's gonna escort us just out of the property, because it was like, okay, you know, you need to go.
He opened the gate and we saw the Carabinieri police station right across the street, and he went there with us and said, I want to press charges.
And then we spent endless hours there doing all the paperwork, and we needed an attorney. So for some reason, we needed
police
an attorney.
said, you guys need an attorney right now. I need to write down the name right now. And then our Italian friend who was with us said, okay, you can go to my guy.
And then we all went there, and this was feeling like an episode of Better Call Saul. Like the whole guy, his appearance, I remember that we were smoking cigarettes on the balcony.
This was a mob character, like mafia for real, or at least it felt like it. He was saying that he was doing stuff like that in the past as well, or so. I think.
Yeah, he was like I know
he was
what
a
it
bad
is.
guy in the past.
Mm-hmm. And then this interrogation in Poland, where we had
different story. Yes.
Yeah, we had this tremendously good idea of just camping next to abandoned tanks on an active military ground.
We didn't know that this part was active yet.
I took this ahead. We woke up, we opened the tent, everything is full of fog, beautiful scenery. And then the fog sort of vanishes with the morning sun. And suddenly there's this road 200 meters away with convoys of military vehicles. And well, it did not take that long until one of them stopped and approached us, and he was screaming at us, saying like, we are in big trouble.
And speaking in Polish.
Yeah, so he got somebody that is in charge. So next car comes, huge car. 2 guys get out, same thing. They start to interrogate us, and then they say, you are in big trouble. We need to get the military police. Yeah. And they
really separated us.
Yeah, so. And they were assuming sort of that we are spies, because we had a drone, microphones, 4 cameras.
On military property in Poland.
They said, well, you know what, like there's a lot of dumb internet people that come here to take photos, so you are not the first ones, but I would really like that you just follow me now and leave this property and never come back. That's what we did.
And before leaving the military area, they showed us the sign that says, do not enter. Because we were saying, no, we didn't see any sign in the night when we arrived.
I remember that he was really like...
So we were lucky as well.
But you know, the comparison between these 2 things, like one is active military ground that we trespass and sleep there, and they just say, please leave. Yes. And then the other one is walking through a garden, meeting people, and they're like, let's go to an attorney.
It's just so random. Urban exploration is like that sometimes. You never know what's happening. You are in a gray zone most of the times by trespassing and exploring, because usually people don't care about these places anymore. Sometimes people care too much about these places, and then you get really in trouble. But so far, looking back, we were pretty lucky actually these past 10 years. And these stories are only like a few of the many stories that we never share, at least not on YouTube. But we decided to share some of them, for example, in our book, or even like in our live presentations. At the end of this year, maybe this is interesting for some of you, we'll have like a tournée, like a tour in Switzerland coming up in November of 2026, where we present these stories and many different stories. If there are some locals from Switzerland, also maybe some urban explorers, please reach out to us, because we're also planning to do some urbex next to the live presentations. And I guess we could really need the help of some locals. And maybe if you're not an explorer yourself, but you really would like to host us, it would be also great to just stop by. I mean, Switzerland isn't that big, and we didn't really explore Switzerland in the past. It's just a country we cross when we go to Italy.
So another big thing apart from this live presentations is that we have a cooperation with a German TV show. And to give you a little overview about the project, we heard about these abandoned railways from the communist era of Albania that are still sitting there all around the country. And we always thought would be funny to go along those tracks, and maybe even funnier to build a vehicle to go on the tracks. But of course, there's all of these problems with railways being abandoned for several decades, being overgrown, being stolen, being destroyed, being reused. All of this stuff is like a lot of challenges in between, but still we want to do this. Funny thing is we got like 3 months left. Nobody of us can weld to build the actual thing. And we don't have a car yet to transport it and all of that. But this is going to be...
And a lot of other questions?
If I think about all of the stuff we need to do for this, I'm getting a bit nervous.
It's such a stupid idea to go on abandoned racetracks. I mean, they're abandoned for a reason and you can't really use them anymore. But it's also like a different approach to explore a country. There's a lot going on actually in Albania, and maybe at this point of time, it's the last time to really feel and explore the country like it is between like past and modernity. Albania was always our dream destination. I mean, we tried to get there for 3 years in our series Balkan Detours, and there's still the 3rd season of Balkan Detours we want to share, where we finally arrive in Albania with our broken Lada Niva and explore the country. And now, a few years later, we actually go back to Albania with like a probably even more problematic vehicle than the Lada. Let's see, I hope
never
not.
thought this is possible. By the way, if somebody's interested, it's still waiting in the garage.
The Lada Niva, yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, if there are any people in Albania or know people in Albania or in the countries around who want to help us or want to explore together or want to meet us, you can also reach out. We really love to hear from you, because we will spend a lot of time in 2026 in the Balkans again. And there's still a lot to see, actually. So especially people from Albania, please hit us up.
So a lot of topics in this video were perspectives we want to follow with our project BWT. One thing that we kind of agreed on is to bring this channel back to urban exploration focus, because I think that's what most of you people have subscribed for. But we as people, we develop in a way that we also want to do other stuff next to this. And we tried to implement it in this channel. We tried to build a community that's also interested in like the exact same stuff that we are interested in. But we see that it's more or less not working out pretty well. So if you have ideas of how to share this content in a way that just the people who are interested in it can follow. We thought about doing live presentations in English. We thought about doing a translation for our book. We thought about a second channel, but all of this is not really ideal. Still, we would like to discuss this. Also, we would like to improve the way we are in exchange with our community. I don't know, live streams or whatever.
If you have ideas, the best way to tell is in the comments, or even better, in our Telegram channel.
You can get involved into decision processes of anything pretty much. So you see, like, we shared a lot of stories and also a lot of stuff what was happening in this year. And all the time we are thinking, man, this was our best year and it can't get more intense. But now I already see what we have planned for next year, which I'm super stoked for.
And it all comes from the one decision like many years ago when we went into the first abandoned building together.
Yes.
And then this happened. Okay, so let's finish this with one tradition we were doing since the very beginning of this channel. I think the first video we uploaded was Urban Exploration Highlights, which was like a cinematic recap of our urban exploration adventures. And at the end of every year, we did like this cinematic recap of the explorations from the year. Let's end this with our 2025 Urbex cinematic recap.